Hello, I'm Patristic Nous. You might have seen me in my Hollywood movies. No, I'm kidding. My famous Hollywood. Wacom that. Wow, it's good to be back. And it's good that at least the prayer stream, no audio problems. Remember, we don't say unmute, or you'll be blocked. You'll be booted. It is refresh. Fresh. Where's mine? Come on, here we go. Fresh. All right. It means I have to shut down. We never figured out why. I don't know what it is. It's not boomer tech. It's actually really complicated. And yeah, the only way I figured it was just shut down the OBS and then restart it. And it. Peter Frampton. Is it doing Peter Frampton? You know what's weird? I think I had a dream about Peter Frampton. Echo. Okay, we gotta do. If it echoes, we gotta do this. Watch. And we're back, and the echo is gone. You see if there's any super chats. Remember, you can support Patristic Faith and the ministry by sending super chats. Of course, super chat questions will get priority. Let's see, I guess we have a few things to kind of go over as far as announcements, and then we can take questions and have a discussion. Yes, I was away in California for almost a month. Why? Is the question. My wife hadn't seen her father in about over 6 years, and we had a bunch of stuff of her entire life and her reposed mother, when was that? Maybe 2018. Tons of stuff in storage that we had to get. So we flew down to Orange County, and then also just seeing friends and my spiritual father, and my parents are currently up here for the summer, but we stayed at my parents' house in Garden Grove. And then I needed a vacation from the Montanica conference. Was really hard, and we'll watch a video too. I want to give a big shout out to Logo Cinema, one of our sponsors and videographers, and them putting up and doing promo videos and recap videos. And so it was really nice to just kind of unwind. And so with part vacation, part kind of work, having to go through storage, and my wife had to kind of basically go through her entire life that was in storage and see what we could take up, and then rent a car back up and drive it all up to Montana. So we almost got stuck because what happened is there was a computer error between the third-party website like Expedia and the rental car place. So I got a call Monday because I was going to pick up the car Tuesday, pack Tuesday and Wednesday, and probably leave Thursday, or pack everything Tuesday and leave Wednesday. We weren't sure exactly, but we had got it for Tuesday. The rental car Tuesday to Saturday, and I get a call from them on Monday saying, look, we don't know why it shouldn't have allowed you to book. We don't have anything available. And remember I needed something like a van too. I don't even think they had like cars available either. And so the guy says, "Look, I'll see what I can find and I'll give you a call back," because they're probably calling different stores. In the meantime, I started calling different car rental places, and they're all booked out. The whole summer, at least for a month. And I'm like, what is going on? And I'm like panicking, thinking, well, what if we can't drive back? Like, first of all, what do I do with all this stuff? Like, I guess get a storage unit. And good morning, Jim Bob. Hey, congratulations. Let's give a big uh congratulations and to Jim Bob um doing the iconography. Looked really good. Um I want to thank Caden for 599. Question: if God real why bad thing happened? Checkmate. Theist. Yes. Also, Father Ron. Father Ron, when are you coming down next? Yeah, Jim, I'm really. By the way, too bad I couldn't have come up to see, but Colorado is actually a lot farther east going up than you think. And I had some friends and my godparents went invited. Good news, you're coming next week. Oh, by the way, we're having His Eminence Bishop Maxime come for St. Herman's feast day. I don't know if you want to come down. Hey, Kalispell's a little bit closer to you. Father Russell won't. He'll be there for the Friday night Vespers, but he's selling Apostolos. He sends his deacon. I love being sent. I don't know what it is, but like I'm sending my deacon. For their feast day. I know St. Herman's on Sunday, but we're doing the feast day for St. Herman's in Kalispell Saturday and the festivities. So please, Father, if you can make it down, I'm sure there'll be lots of other clergy, and it's just great to obviously serve with His Eminence Archbishop Maxime. Zish Tech, 25 pounds. Father new here. Well, welcome. How do I best take the next step towards Orthodox? I'm in Wales, UK. I thank you for your prayers. Been reading Father Seraphim Rose. I'm ready to commit my life to God in Christ. Any guidance? Reach out to Father Spirit and Bailey. He's in Wales. And then also, I was talking with I teach as a seminary professor online because I'm not going to move to New York and Jordanville. And I have some priests and clergy as some of my students for the certificate program. And I was having a conversation maybe about a week ago with one of my students, one of the fathers. Do you know what he does? He doesn't have his inquires and catechumens read theology. And I'm like, that is such a great... All the theology that you need is an inquire or in the prayers. I'd also suggest reading the lives of the saints. And what did I see? Don't go big, go small and consistent. There is supposedly a good article, like Father Thomas Frisbee sent me. I want to see it, where it's kind of an article on the dangers of burnouts. And so I would say that, Because what happens, everybody wants to jump into like really difficult theology and stuff like that. It's a trap. Like, I can't tell you. Ask Father Ron. How many people online, and maybe people in parish too, are just getting totally messed up because they're jumping straight into difficult theology. It's pride. First of all, we have something called a virtue epistemology. To get the right answers, it's not IQ. Well, I just read the text. It's an acquisition of spiritual virtues that allows one to properly understand. And there's levels at that. So, just like anything in sports, lifting weights, or education, you don't jump into halfway or into really difficult stuff. So you start... Now, that doesn't sound exciting, does it? And that's the problem. That's the trap. But that's what I'd recommend. Lives of the Saints, get to know what, if you work orthodoxy correctly, if you want it, you have a love for God and openness that allow God to transform your life, you can become like the saints. And so get to know the saints, read their stories. And then the prayers, like the Father's right. Like, right now, the theology that you need are in our prayers. Get to know that. Get to know them. Let those prayers enter into your heart. That would be... And then get plugged in. Attend a parish, you know. Be normal. Don't be a weirdo. Just be a regular attendee and do the small things and consistently. That would be... Alright, so back to the story of almost getting stuck in Southern California for summer. And also, I'll be the gatekeeper. I'll decide if you need advanced theology. How about that? Obviously, the last person that's qualified to decide what they need to read is you yourself. So, like, I'll tell you if you need to read something more. Or the priest that you're working with. They'll tell you, like, but yeah, you shouldn't be deciding what you should be reading or what level you're at. Okay, so anyways, I start calling these other car rentals, and they don't have anything for like the entire month, and I'm like, what am I gonna do? So I'm thinking back. I'm rushing to figure out, because we're supposed to drive back Wednesday, no later than Thursday. I'm like, so I gotta get a storage unit? I mean, how much are those in Southern California? 100, 200 at best? Put all that in, and then I have to pay and do the trip all over again to come get the stuff. So it was I wasted all my money. And then I was looking at flights, and it was $546 was the cheapest ticket per person back to Helena. I'm like, this is ridiculous. I'm like, I might be stuck here. And I remember having this, immediately identifying that it was demonic. That I was like, why do I fall for this demonic trap of fear? Oh, let me tell you how much U-Haul is. One way. You know what we got quote? $3,000 to $7,000 for a U-Haul. Can you believe that? Absolutely insane. But I remember that it was that expensive. I don't even know if we could have got it for $3,000. We might have been spending $5,000-$6,000. Yes. California does not allow U-Hauls. This happened when we moved up here 6 years ago. We looked for a U-Haul. Same amount of... They won't let them leave California. So they were like $5,000 to $7,000. And so what we did when we were moving up here 6 years ago, I threw away like almost all of my stuff, and I downsized to the point I'm like, whatever I can fit into my Subaru. And we did like total Chevy Chase, like my mattress and headboard frame of the mattress and like everything on top. Like Tetris style, packed everything in every nook and cranny. They can leave. They don't want them to leave. They want their U-Hauls returned back to them. So you can leave. They'll just penalize you. That, well, you could take it and drop it off in another U-Haul, but that's not our U-Haul, and so we're gonna charge you. Yeah, and it means they don't think about everything like from their perspective. I mean, it's obviously unproportioned, like the amount they're driving, but they are now somebody else gets there, and it may not just be California. I don't know if there are not enough U-Hauls going into Yes, that's right. That's right. I forgot about that. So they're all going out and not enough coming in. That's right. So they have to. Anyways, I was like, this is just fear. Also, the trailers, to rent a trailer too, is the same thing. I don't know any work called Lives of the Saints. But, I mean, maybe somebody has a book called Lives of the Saints. Is there a book called Lives of the Saints? Yes, Q&A. After I eventually finish my story, but... I remember thinking, I'm like, you should just trust God and not... and not fear, Deacon. Have no fear. Peace be upon you. Peace be with you. And I had to kind of go through this battle. I'm like, yeah, God's got me. And I think I did kind of, work that. I never let it get too bad, but like it was an interesting thing that it even came up. Yeah, I have St. Demetrius Rostov. And then, anyways, the guy never called in the morning. So I'm like, I kind of got to get this stuff figured out. So I drove up to the Enterprise. And I just started talking to me. He was telling me, like, yeah, he's like, we don't have anything. Told the problem. He's like, you could try calling other places. You can see if somebody brings back something today. It was just all up in the air. Jay Dyer, what's up, man? Congratulations, for he's a jolly good fellow. No, that's the secular version. God grant you many years. God grant you many debates. God grant you many wins. Many wins. Yeah. Well done, Jay. Anyways, a miracle happened. First of all, I called other rental places. Nobody had anything. And then he calls me later. He's like, a guy's returning his SUV, which is exactly, I needed something big, like an SUV to pack. And it said, he returned it early because, he wanted to check out LA and hated it and went home. I'm like, I could have told him. LA's so bad now. Downtown LA. We met with my brother for all you can eat Korean barbecue. And it was seriously Grand Theft Auto. I couldn't believe it. I mean, there was people dead on the streets. I mean, there's dead. Like, Fent tents everywhere. There are people fighting. There's literally no police that even go in there. And then because everybody's on the Fent trank, it's all like zombie apocalypse, and people from cars are just like driving through. There's no rules. Like, I just couldn't believe. I couldn't believe how bad it got. 60 trash piled up. And my brother was. That's why we never got Grand Theft Auto. Yeah, why buy Grand Theft Auto? I just played it. And my wife was like, she's like, lock the doors. Like, don't go over them. I'm like, this is so great. It's unbelievable. It's like beyond words. Dr. Crispy is a doctor of Christina Gallagher. A Gallagherite. Right, Crispy? So, Jay, what was DebateCon like? I mean, it looks like it was a success. I self-identify as empty. Where's Jim Bob? Did he leave? Got 42. Is it 42 special Gematrian number? By the way, you know that I tease you guys, but you know when we say Lives of the Saints, that's not a book, right? There's actually real saints, and they had lives. And you can. It's so funny in the Discord. Like, everybody's like, "Is there a book on?" It's like, you could get the Senexarian, but that's really expensive. Who? I mean, there's people that write about the lives of the saints, okay, but there's not like a master book called the Lives of the Saints. It's actually hidden under Washington D.C. and you have to get Nick Cage to from National Treasure to basically find it. Dyer did the ball shorts. Fortnite, thank you. Jay, where are you? You look like you just got done playing golf. You should have made some joke. So we got one dude in pajamas. One guy just came off the golf course. It's like set up for a joke. Like, so a guy comes in his pajamas, a Mohammedan and an Orthodox, and coming off the golf course. There's daily, good point. There's daily readings on a lot of the jurisdictions' websites. Yeah, everybody thinks it's a single book. Please tell Jay you and I are friends. Jay, we're friends. Oh, Jay, Father Ron and I, we're more than friends, huh, Father? Prologue of the Jay, as your CIA handler, you have to befriend Father Ron. I'm using my authority too. Greetings from Belgrade. Thank you so much. By the way, I can't remember what channel it's going to be on in Belgrade, but we were going to have, should be September or October. I'm not supposed to show it, and I'm not going to, but I'm going to see what channel it is. It's a whole documentary done on Orthodoxy in America, focusing on our parish. Father Josiah is in it, but so is Father Russell, my dear friend who's heading up the whole kind of monastery thing here in Montana, and it's about the monastery, and even I'm in it at the very end. I'm actually in it in the whole conference and stuff like that. So it's a pretty big deal in Serbia. And let me just see. What channel it's going to be coming out on. Is there something called Promina Verid? Or does that just mean... Oh, that means probably premiere. Alright, hold on a second. What is this? Or I'm not going to play it for you, but... this channel here. Maybe it is. Because it's unlisted, I'm not supposed to... I'm under legal contract not to. But check that out. Should come... it should come out in September, I think they said. So big deal in Serbia. And big deal for us, too. He's a made man. Alright. We got the car. I'm never going to finish this story. I keep getting distracted. Got the car. We took Tuesday and Wednesday to stage and like the rest of the stuff and pack it. We left early Thursday morning. Made it to Provo, Utah, 9 hours. And then to Helena. Took a little bit longer because I stopped by Lincoln, the cabin, to drop a lot of the stuff off with my parents. So another 9-hour day, basically. I was back late Friday night. Kind of tried to recoup Saturday. Liturgy yesterday. It was good to be back. Cleve, what's up? Everybody's here. The never-ending story. Yeah, I was thinking about, what if I just take all my papers and throw it into AI and have it just compile a book? That'd be a good idea, actually. By the way, there are legitimate uses of AI. Check your work. You can create like kind of criticisms and feedback of stuff that you've written. Let's say you get stuck on a sentence or something like that, or there's some weird structure. I'm going to talk to my students about this. Legitimate uses, and I'm going to have a non-disclosure, right? You can't have AI use... The AI would hallucinate and mess up your text. It can. But if it puts it back to... Like when I'm sitting normally and I'm like working with a sentence and I'm like, I don't like the sound of the sentence. I just have to sit there and keep going through. If I get AI to bounce it back and be like, give me suggestions, it'd be like, make this less redundant or something like that. You can't really hallucinate or something like that. Absolutely do not use it. If you don't already know and haven't written stuff and know these things and have a structure, you will totally go off the rails. But if you use it as kind of an editor, uh, I think that's fine. I had a student that actually tried, didn't know what he wanted to write, started like couldn't even finish and write the paper. Like just took him. Also, I have a terrible recall. I already know and I have seen this. For example, I'll be like, find this quote from Losky or something like this, or Standing, because I can't remember where it is. And it'll come back and it'll find the quote and attribute it to another author. So I already know that that's wrong because I know I just can't find it. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's Demetrius Staniloy, Volume 2. And it's like, oh, you're right. And then it finds it. And then I'll actually say, find the page number of, the 1979 publication of. All right. Questions. Let's see if I missed any super chats. So the algorithms must be promoting. Do you know how many people came to me at church yesterday and was like, I watched your debate with Matt Slick. How many years ago was it? Like, why? Is it because all the debates are going on recently? There's the debate con and stuff, like, and it just, I'm like, I'd totally forgotten about that. I had trauma from that, PTSD, and my mind blanked it out until you brought it back. 6 years. Maybe longer than 6 years because I moved up here 6 years ago. I think it's being promoted somehow. Like, I think there was some guy on Twitter. It's amazing. I want to show you something. And there's a guy. I'm almost tempted. There's a guy that came into our Discord, and I just like to publicly shame him and embarrass him. What did I say? Huge percentage of society's problems are because children didn't get the lickings from the parents that they deserve. Like, here's a classic example. This guy comes in. So, that's fine. I'll give you an intellectual licking. But it was a really interesting the last couple days in our philosophy Discord. A 24-year-old child comes in, supposedly they're cradle Orthodox, and they're going to destroy tag. It's the stupidest. This person was so arrogant and ignorant, and to be honest, just downright disrespectful to the clergy, and they wouldn't stop. And they just thought, Cleve, you probably noticed this too. It is amazing that people can embarrass themselves so bad, and yet they think they're winning the debate. And that they're... It wasn't September 20th. I know it wasn't. I was in Montana. I did that debate when I was in Fullerton. Hold on, I'm looking it up. You're driving me crazy now. Maybe it was. Maybe you're right. See? A humble man like myself can admit when he's wrong. I actually think you might be right. You are right. You are right. I was here. I can remember it now. It's coming back. Oh, sweet. Jim Bob's doing writing icons stream. in 40 minutes. So if you get bored of me, go over there. I'm really happy Jim Bob's taking that in that direction. Good job, bud. What is $20? What is the Orthodox view on God's judgment in the Old Testament people outside of his covenant? They're damned. Eternal damnation. They're outside of the ark. Like, I don't imagine it's the same. Similar kind of view as the New Testament is that the prescribed ways to be in the covenant in the ark, now like what God individually decides to do apart from the norm, like and seeing their hearts, like we don't know. But keep in mind that they were all the gospel was preached to them by Christ in Hades and the descent and the heron of Hades. So, but I would say it's similar to in the old covenant's still the ark. Like, where's Cleve? Oh, anyways, the reason why I was bringing that up is because now that was an interesting debate because usually with debates, first of all, the person you debate, it doesn't matter how retarded and low IQ they are, they always think they win. And this is something that's I think increasing in society, which makes debate really frustrating. It's like, now of course, the intention isn't to win them over and get them to see. But the other flip side of it is, unfortunately, everybody else is retarded and dumb watching debates and can't understand. So it's just root for your own team. Oh, you got crushed. You dropped. Blah blah blah. My favorite sports debater team is basically what it's become. That debate was the exception. Most Protestants even basically said, like, I'm off the floor was slick. And many Protestants converted from that. So as bad as it was, and because it was bad, it actually, that was the one debate that actually, like, the other side was like, yeah, Matt Slicklaw. But in light of that, you still get the diehards, the true believers, the true cultists that just were like, no way, Deacon Anna, idiot, got smashed, right? And let me show you one of them. And that's what blows me away, is that that's just, I don't make any judgment about. But keep in mind, too, God places everybody, even the Amazon, because he already knows what they're going to choose, right? The way he relates to in time. So he may already know this person's doesn't respond to me. So keep that in mind, too. That's why I just say I don't know, but everybody's in the right place. And there's a reason why people are born in areas that never heard the gospel. It's probably because now either God doesn't judge them as harshly, or it's because he put them there. That's part of the judgment. Because he doesn't relate to and this isn't predestination, he relates to them in an eternal now, their present. So if he already knows in the present now of his now that this person doesn't respond, then that's why they're in a place they don't hear the gospel. because they wouldn't hear the gospel. And in fact, that's probably even a more gentle judgment than the one who does hear the gospel and rejects it. So it's actually probably better that they're placed in places that they haven't heard the law, they haven't heard the gospel, because the condemnation would be, they'd be more accountable. Anyways, if you're born in the, I was gonna make a joke about the Amazon. You want people in heaven from Amazon living in? You want jungle people, and that's why they're in the Amazon. So that's what I would say. We don't know. I don't know how they'll be. Number two, you know, God can do things apart from the norm, but it wouldn't be the norm. It would be exceptions, and it would be based on an individual basis. Of knowing each individual's heart, their future from our, but yeah, God, absolutely. God places you, He foreknew you from the foundations of the, like, everything where you are, like, nothing's coincidental. But from God's perspective, it's not, it's simultaneity. So otherwise it would be predetermination. It's like, no, God knows like the way He relates to the person, so there's no place that you're not supposed to be that God didn't already know. Now, but there's not an already or previous, or there aren't those categories with God. It's just He knows because He's present there with the person. But yeah, that's people in areas that haven't heard the gospel, is because that's a possibility, is that God put them there because He knew, or He knows their decision of whether they reject Him or not. So it's actually it's a merciful judgment because they're not as accountable. It's both. That's what I'm saying. He allows people to choose, and He willed it. There's nothing that's against the will. Like, God put them there, right? And the person chose. Yeah, I'm taking priority too. That's why. Whoa, $100? Are you kidding me? Woo! Can T-Funk tipped $100? Can I bother you to talk about the role of special revelation delivering the tag argument, specifically giving a positive case for orthodoxy? Thank you for everything you do. As opposed to natural revelation. So special revelation is what? Like the church, the prophets, the law, gospel. Let me see. Super chat did not. Hold on, let me see. Corbin Billard, your super chat did not come in. Now I can come in here. No, it did not go through. I'm checking out both. Yes, let me read something to you. Let me get a book out. Oh my God. We have Islamotard. And do you know what's so weird about Islamotard? Like, first of all, they're inbred 60 IQ people. They're so retarded that they think just repeating, like, and just spamming the chat, like, will win you over. Get out of my country, first of all. I hope to God you're not in the United States. You can't debate, like, remove these people. I don't care if you're here legally, you're out. You're not wanted. Guess what? This means not welcome. How about that? This means not welcome. You're not welcome here in our countries. They're Christian. Alright, I'm getting a book. This means not welcome. Lord have mercy, where is my... Yes, here, got it. But they're here legally. I don't care. Change the law. We need to ban these people from coming into any Christian country. And that's European countries too. Legally. There need to be new laws. Hindus too. Hindus, Muslims. But that's not... I don't care if it's fair. I'll have the same principles as you. Police be upon. Where do these people come from anyways? Like, how do they find my channel? You know what I'll do? I'll just spam a bunch of nonsense and just repeat it over and over because they can't reason. They're like incapable reasoning. And by the way, I like that on Soren's channel when he was interviewing Jay about debates, that remember what Aristotle, and I think Jay references, Aristotle says, the sign and mark of intelligent man is the ability to entertain the other's position without actually adopting it, which actually means that you have to know what the other person's argument is. And so Jay had mentioned that Bonson had said this too, to be able to, a good debater is one who can actually repeat back the other person, the opponent's argument, to their satisfaction or better. And that's why, you know, when Jay and I go through like debates and we're kind of prepping, we always remind each other that, like, have your opponent say, repeat back to me that, like, what's the argument? What's the Islamic dilemma? I don't believe in the... We know you don't believe in the Islam. What is it? What's the argument? They can't tell you. I don't believe it. It's like, I know, tell me what the argument is. You can't object to the argument if you don't know what the argument is. And they can't. They're... Because people who have 60 IQ can't... Who make love to goats and their cousins and inbreed can't actually reason. That's why they just spam what they're just like, wow, just spam the... All right. To the $100 super chat, let me read you the answer. No, I came back. I left Southern California Thursday morning. I'm back in paradise now. And by the way, it was really weird. As soon as I crossed the border, so this is even a difference between Idaho and Montana, because we were driving through Utah, Idaho, into Montana. As soon as I crossed the border in Montana, I felt a huge pressure release. Reason is haram. And this peace came upon me. Peace be upon me. Police be upon me. In my rearview mirror. No, peace. When I crossed the border into Montana, and it wasn't just subjective. I asked, my wife said the same. She's like, did you feel that? I'm like, that is weird. Part of it's too, by the way, Idaho is way more crowded than Montana. As soon as you get into Montana, it's like nobody on the road. I'm like, oh, wow. And the other thing I can't figure out, I'm like, it actually is big sky, and I can't figure out why it looks like that. And why does it happen just when you cross the border? Like, how did they figure that out? Like, you know what? We should mark the border here because that's when the sky turns big. Okay. Answer your question. I want to thank you so much. $100. Thank you so much. We can now finally have food to eat. I'm so hungry. You saw my godson, Derek? Oh, cool. Oh, no, Derek wrote me that he met a new guy at church that said that you recognized him from our surfing posts. I'll get back to it, but I got to get to the $100 super chat question. Demetrius Stanley's Orthodox Dogmatic Theology, The Experience of God, Chapter 1. I feel like I'm the AI, no, the read out loud reader. The Orthodox Church makes no separation between natural and supernatural revelation. Natural revelation, so the divine energies in creation, the trees, the birds, is known and understood fully in light. Because I mean, think about it. What is a tree, and what does it mean to be green, and what grounds those, and how do they exist, and stuff like that. There's all this, everything that you look at in creation has questions, right? So God is speaking to you in creation, but these are pieces, and they can't be understood because they imply other questions too, without the whole. Supernatural revelation is the whole, which is why Demetrius Stanley is saying they cannot be understood. The natural revelation, God's divine energies in creation, can't be understood apart from, and it is fully understood in light of supernatural revelation. Or we might say that natural revelation is given and maintained by God because he's in there, in his energies, continuously through his own divine act, which is above nature. So notice this question. He is above nature and he's in nature. But the God who is in nature, through his divine energies, i.e. natural revelation, is maintained by God who is above nature. That's why St. Maximus, Confessor, does not posit an essential distinction. So in the West they do. But it's like, it's God. There's not an essential, there's a distinction, but not an essential one the way that the West does, between the natural revelation and supernatural or biblical one. According to him, this latter, right, the biblical one, supernatural revelation, is the only embodiment of the former in the historical persons and actions. This affirmation of Maximus must probably be taken more to the sense that two revelations are not divorced from one another. Supernatural revelation unfolds and brings forth its fruit within the framework of natural revelation, like a kind of casting of the work of God into bolder relief, guiding the physical and historical world toward that goal for which it is created, in accordance with the plan laid down from all ages. Supernatural revelation merely restores direction. So it is the canon. Does that make sense? And so in terms of tag, we're asking questions. We start with certain kind of, let's say, phenomenological facts or something like that. I use my reason. There's trees, there's green. I have these concepts. There's an external world. There's all these pieces in which God is revealing that. But then the question becomes, what does that mean? What does green mean? Is it universal? Does it exist as a particular? Can I get outside of my mind? Are these just concepts? Etc., etc. All of those particular things lead to other questions. This is what justification and grounding is about. And so what St. Demetrius Staniloae is saying is only supernatural revelation, the katraholos, right? The whole, which is the lens in the rubric, in the canon by which can answer that. So that's why we actually say ultimately those things. So if you have different kind of hierarchies of justification, yeah, we'd probably justify some empirical thing by some logical category or something like that. But it just moves the question back. So yes, logic is a necessary condition for, categorizing the things empirically sensed in the world and stuff. But what about logic, right? What about all the things? Ultimately, we would say that they're only justified and could be grounded in a personal God in lights of the supernatural revelation. Does that make sense? All right. Great question. Let's see if we have other questions, but I'm going to find something else that mine is just all over the place. I should bring Cleve on. Well, let's talk about furries at some point. Did you see the Romanian bishop that condemned furries? All right, let me see. Where was it? Because it was Scott. Remember the former mega church pastor? That reposted or said so, drew my attention to. Where is it? Yeah, Latinizers. Do you know what? We should actually stop calling them Latinizers and call them Shupianites. I like that even better. Where are you? Looking through my... Here. This is why I think... This might be another reason why the Matt Slick stuff's being promoted too. Like, well, the Protestants are just like flipping out. They're totally lost, and so... Let me define natural... Natural theology is defined, and Aquinas states this too, and it's, confirmed in Roman Catholicism, also in the encyclical letter Fides et Ratio. What the human mind, by the natural light of reason alone, can know about God apart from divine revelation. That is the most blasphemous thing you could ever say for it. Why? Well, first of all, notice what is Demetrius Staniloae. It makes an essential distinction between the two spheres. Furthermore, God is not immanent in... Because notice, it doesn't... It's a denial of natural revelation. So nothing can be known apart from revelation. So the question is, well, is it natural revelation? Is it the divine energies eminent, or is it, is it supernatural? So it's wrong on that. But there's no way to ever, if you're isolated in your own sphere, Because what you're doing is an autonomous rebellion against God. I can alone know apart from your revelation. Then you're locked in your own sphere of reason and speculation. It's like a biofeedback. Like it's just speculation upon speculation. And there's no way to be able, and from that finite position and closed off from truth, i.e. divine revelation, like it's like an echo chamber. There's no way to actually be able to even justify, first of all, to get outside of your head that there's even an external world, but to ever justify that knowledge even exists. That's why we don't believe in natural theology. We believe in natural revelation. Because natural theology is blasphemous. Unless somebody's equivocating on natural theology. Yes, I'm under... So it's complicated. I'm under Archbishop Nathaniel, the Romanian Episcopate of the OCA, on loan, because there's no Romanian parishes here, to Archbishop Maxim the Serbian. But yeah, I'm still Romanian. I'm not shifting. Yeah, here's the objection that requiring paradigm. Well, first of all, what's the other option? What else are you going to do? And who said you can't compare, like, better not compare systems? Like, what eternal epistemologic Quran was that ever written in? Like, who said that? Whatever you do. So I found a secret epistemology book under the temples of Washington, D.C. And thanks to Nick Cage, that basically said, whatever you do never compare things. Right? That's haram in epistemology. Especially if they're systems. God forbid. Like, who said that, first of all? Number two, it's not shifting the burden. They said tag should stand... Who said that? Like, where do you... Again, it just moves the question back to... First of all, tag does stand on its own. How about that? Orthodoxy provides sufficient enough reasons why it's true and everything else is false. However, part of the reason why this comes up is that people are like, well, how do you know this doesn't... Like, so they push you into saying, well, how do you know this system doesn't work either? So again, we're not infallibilists. Even though if I think tag does reach the ability being indubitable, I believe, as most people do, that no, you don't have to have infallible reasons and justifications in order to know something. But sufficient. In other words, I don't have to eliminate every possibility, an objection that that's not a real gas station next to me. If I have good reasons, if it's true it's a gas station, I have good reasons to believe that, not infallible, but good ones, then I know it. So, the positive case for orthodoxy is it provides all the reasons that would satisfy to know. So, for example, everybody else is, so it's not unique to, like, it's not special pleading, but like, well, only Orthodox. It's like, no, everybody believes this, right? There should be coherence, right? That not just the lack of contradiction, but that things are logically entailed within that it corresponds to reality. It fits the descriptions. It has a mean of explanation about justification, coherence. Remember, all these different things. Um, and the things that are considered necessary within that epistemic system are the sort of things that do the work, right? So I could go through a positive case without even looking at any and be like, then it's true. And if it's true, the rest are false. Then what comes up is, so that's a positive. Like, I don't have to do a reductio. The reductio only comes because these stupid idiots go, well, how do we know there isn't another system that could be built that does the same thing? Well, first of all, they both can't be true because orthodoxy uniquely as a whole claims to be. So then orthodoxy is wrong. And then you have to show by which it's wrong. So you can't just copy and paste another. Well, how do we know it's not a different system that we. Number two, I argue for, again, through the disjuncts, I eliminate accidentalism. And then if you believe that accident is even possible, i.e. autonomous, all of those things are thrown out. So I didn't even do a paradigm, right? I didn't even look at it. I'm just like, it's pretty easy, right? You can't have accidental knowledge. And whatever your theory is or justification for knowledge is that, but it might be possible that accidentalism is true, then you're out too. Therefore, it's not it must be revelatory. It must be theonomous. And why does is it Florovsky that says revelation is history? What is he saying there? So when we say divine revelation, we don't mean subjective Joseph Smith, Christina Gallagher. Why? Because there's no way to confirm it. It has to be publicly, like, you should be able to see it. Otherwise, everybody could just do the same thing. History, I can look at and be like, that, again, it matches the appearances. So we move away from this just pure abstraction and form. What if I created a system? Then it's false. You just created it. It's an abstract. It has to match the appearances. It has to be in history. There has to be some objective way at some level to confirm it. So the only reason why I would even do a comparison is because these idiots say that, well, how do you know this isn't? I'm like, okay, so you ask a question and answer and be like, well, you're not allowed to. You should be able to answer that without answering my question that I just asked you. Like, do you see how stupid this is? But number two, or the first point, who says it's like that's the, like, it's already, you're granting your opponent some authoritative position on it should stand on it. Who told you that? Your magic epistemology book that you dug up and got your magic glasses and read? You just made that up. But we just all did. Society just agreed on. Number two, or this is my third point. It does stand on its own. I just provided it. But then you don't like it and ask a question about other paradigms and then get upset when I answer that. And be like, it should stand on its own. I mean, think about how stupid these people are. Derek Drugsma, $2. Welcome back, Father. Thank you. It's good to be back. You can't prove the Trinity. Trinity is what's revealed. Um, that's what I'm talking about. And a monad doesn't refer to anything. So again, that's why Russ Manning says there is no purely rational argument for theism or Trinity. Why? Because that already implies that there's something independent and higher than divine God and divine revelation that proves God and the Trinity. The Trinity is the starting point. There is no other, and any other gods don't refer to anything. So that's one way how you prove it. God is a monad, has no referent. There's no existing. And again, you're thinking about proving stuff piecemeal. It's the system, it's the whole, the catechol that's proved. So how do you prove the Trinity? By proving the whole. What does the whole say? Trinity. That's how you prove. I mean, there's other ways too, but there's not some natural theology independent argument of how you prove 3 over, well, like, I mean, there is. I mean, I could go through it, but you guys will get confused. You're not going to get it's too difficult. That's why it's, like, for me, it's really simple. There is an argument as far as the triad but people never understand. I don't understand. Like, to me, it's really easy. I don't know why people can't get it. So the best way to think about is to think about it in the right way. So I could say the question's wrong. Your question's incorrect. You don't prove pieces of the system. You prove the system. Do you see what I mean? So you're looking at it like this. This is good. You're speaking in Romanian. Solia. Reverend Deacon Ananias, sworn PhD. Psh. Okay, so maybe I should use a... Here's a whole. In the whole are parts. Oh no, my pen. Why, God? If God exists, why my pen going out? You can even do it like a pie if you want to. Here's a whole. In the whole are different parts, different categories, right? One of those is the Trinity. So you're asking, how can I prove... I don't understand how tag proves the Trinity. Tag does not... You're backwards. You cannot use tag or any argument to prove any part. Why? Because tag's about the whole. So you don't move to prove the whole. You don't go this way. You don't go from parts to whole. I went through every single thing and I proved every part. By what? Again, like Demetrius Standerley says, by what rubric? By what standard? You'd have to have a whole in order to see the parts that... So you've already presupposed a whole. That's what they're doing. Who said that? By what rubric or standard are you... You don't... It already presupposes a methodology, a criterion, etc., a system, a whole, by which you could even say, oh, I prove the parts, and if I add up all the parts, I get the whole. No, that's self-refuting because you already presupposed a whole. Some standard. So, what you do... You argue, well, what whole would satisfy? What would be the necessary conditions for the possibility, what would be justification? Then the whole proves the parts. That's why it's Gestaltian. It's contra-evidential. You don't just stack up the evidence and quotes and stuff like that and move up and be like, that's how I proved orthodoxy. I just went through every single part and verified it. No, you get a standard. You get a criteria. You get a whole. Then the whole proves the parts. So once you prove orthodoxy, that's how you know the Trinity. You don't prove the Trinity and then ecumenical councils and then I get some of this and I go and then I just get enough and be like, oh, I just figured out orthodoxy. Does that make sense? I'm glad we used the red. But there is another argument, but for some reason people can't get it, so I'm not going to go over it. Because they don't understand what monad, dyad, and triad mean for some reason, and they get super confused. So just stick with that. That's an easier argument. My name is Părinte Anania Sormescu. I'm Romanian. Sunt Roman. But I'm on loan and I serve under Archbishop Maxim of the Serbian Archdiocese. So I get the best of both worlds, see? It's a both and. It's not an either or. Okay, so, yeah, they're being inconsistent. They're fallibles, like we are. So then I provide, okay, well, there's just sufficient reason, like I can give you reasons why orthodoxy is true, and if orthodoxy is true and it claims to be uniquely a kataholos, then the others are false. Then they move you into this, well, you have to go through every single one and prove it infallibly. I'm like, okay. Then you do it and they're like, it should be able to stand on its own. You shouldn't have to do constantly moving the goalposts. Do you see what's going on with these people? Like, I could do it. Like every objection that's come on, I'm like, I've done it. And then it's satisfied their stupid arbitrary demands. And then it's like, they switch the subject. Well, then it has to do this. Then it has... What if it doesn't turn into fire when you talk, an electrobolt, then I won't believe it. Do you see? So the fallacy and credulity and unreasonable demands. I'm like, I could do it if you want me to, but it's not like it ever convinces you people. You don't put in S5 modal. What did I do? I put in S5 modal logic. What did they do? Did they finally concede? No. Then they start critiquing S5 modal logic or spurging out on that. Well, I need to see all the premises that eliminate every... I do it. What do they do? It's never good enough for these people. These reprobates. These epistemic reprobates. And then like, well, that doesn't count. You got to do it this way now. It's just so stupid. Yeah, that's the Protestant instinct is to... First of all, it's insanity. Like, you would be locked up in a mental institution if you did that anything like in life. Right? I have to prove, again, the gas station by going through all the different parts and... But it's just self-contradictory. You've already assumed a epistemic whole in standard by which you judge that those are the parts, and that this part... So it's the criterion problem. That you can verify this while at the same time, you reject that that's possible. Number two, it commits the fallacy of pretended neutrality. Why just look at the facts and the data and parts, and then I verify if it's true or not? That's impossible. Yeah, we'll just stack up there. Because evidence and facts are contaminated by other presuppositions. So you might think the person's guilty because you have another belief about certain young people or something like that. Now, it doesn't mean it's necessarily wrong, but it influences. It contaminates the thing standing in front of you, the fact or the perception or whatever. So you can't just be like, well, we're just all theory neutral and belief neutral, and then we just put beliefs in a vacuum, and then we just look at them and add them up and confirm. That's not how it works. So ultimately, it's going to go back to, well, was that a true belief? Is it informing and making me see the evidence correctly or not? Well, that does what? It pushes it back to other beliefs. And other beliefs, and eventually a whole system, a whole kind of lens and rubrics by which you... And so we actually have to look then and be like, look, what's starting point? There's got to be clues in these systems. They're not completely incommensurate, right? So just because they can be influenced by certain stuff, there still are ways to move beyond that and figure out, well, what are the options? Like, what would actually be a standard by which I could judge? And it's eventually going to move it back to these kind of epistemic systems or paradigms. Yeah. Well, I drank tea. My wife made some really good sun iced tea yesterday. It was really good. And the other thing they do, so do you see that's a problem too? You can't just confirm, you can't just look at evidence and be presuppositionally or doxaxically neutral. So that means it pushes it back a level. Is that Derek? Are you my godson Derek, or is that a different Derek? I can't tell. No, it can't be, because I just talked to my godson and he said he didn't have any hang-ups. Must be another Derek. Sorry. Okay. I was told I can't take any more godsons. I've got too many. Spread too thin. Alright. Does that make sense? So, it commits the myth fallacy of pretended neutrality. It's contradictory because it assumes you move from parts to whole while they're at the same time using a whole to judge the parts, to go from the parts to whole. Number three, it's a totally unreasonable, you'd be locked up in a mental institution if you did anything else like that in life. But yeah, somehow it's like expected when it comes to this. So there's kind of a special pleading kind of fallacy baked in there. All right, other questions. Yeah, sunt Roman. All right. Look at this. This is why, all right, finally getting back to. They were. Who's this guy? I know who this guy is. This is Scott, my dear buddy. He's the former pastor of the megachurch in Zootown that we made a catechumen a couple years ago, and he was finally baptized last year. And so he's a dear friend, love Scott, and he's a good supporter. And so he tags me, ha ha ha. Okay, so what's the ha ha ha? Manny R. Jones. Let's see what this guy looks like. Well, he's got a cool beard. I like his hat. I'm born again. Again and again. I'm on a quantum loop. Born again every second. From above, elect son of God. Elect. You didn't choose it. Probably. He's probably a Calvinist. That's preaching, teaching, evangelize the Lord Jesus Christ for God's remnant according to his grace. Why, Father Paul, why are you following him? I'm going to call Father Paul and be like, what's up? 2,500, almost 2,600 followers. Okay. Are you with me, guys? Is everybody in here? Because this is why this came up, and I was like, maybe this is pushing the algorithm. Quantum Loop, born againer. You're born again. I'm born again 5 times, 6 times to infinity. What if you just start beating them and be like, you're only born again once? I'm in an infinite quantum loop of being born again, bruh. Oh, yeah, it was a clip channel reposted it. Yeah, I think that's right. All right, hold on. Let's go back to, where am I? It's interesting. What? So I didn't know when I first read this. This is the craziest 2 hours of Orthodox fathers' interaction with Calvinist man. I probably agree with that. That I've ever listened to in my life. I've listened to it 3 times. So it's hard to tell, like, was that a criticism of me, or, because it is, I think that's a right true statement. That's the craziest 2 hours of my life. Acted with a Protestant. But then you read on, it starts to... This is what I don't get. So remember what I said with this? Almost every single debate, it's just, I root for my team. Each side's like, the other one got crushed. This is, I'm telling you, this might be a case study in history of the debate where the majority of Protestants, like I said, I've only seen a couple people in the last 6 years not say that Matt Slick just got absolutely crushed. So in light of that, so this is kind of what we call in philosophy off fortiori. So even more so, like, it's absurd when people say, Manny Jones says, Orthodox should pay money to have this debate removed. Why? Do you know how many? I'm actually going to look. I cannot tell you all the places throughout the country I've gone where Protestants, ex-Protestants, told me I converted because of this debate. This debate might have brought more Protestants into Orthodoxy than any debate ever. I wouldn't be shocked to find that out. And so, why would we pay for it to take it down? It's absolutely amazing that this even happened. And it happened accidentally, too, right? I did not prepare for this debate. I was supposed to debate Darth Dawkins. I totally forgot about it, didn't prep for that. And then he stepped in at the last minute. So it's a Protestant cope. Manny's coping. It's obvious, right? Now, I expect that at some level. That's what they do. But not when 99.8% of your own guys are like, yeah, it was an absolute embarrassment for Protestantism. So that makes what Manny's saying even worse. This debate goes down in history as the most profound witness against orthodoxy. Really, so much like... Truly, I believe just how biblically illiterate and spiritually... Like, I guarantee you... These people talk to me like I wasn't a Bible-thumping Protestant. Like, I know the scripture. But you know what? The devil started quoting scripture and wanted Christ to engage in the devil with scripture. I'm a little Christ. I always hate when... Anytime you bring up Christ, people are like, okay, I believe you're equating yourself with Christ. It's like, that's what we do. That's what Christians mean. I'm not equating equality with God. Isn't that a shady one? Oh, we clipped Deacon Ananias. He thinks he's God. I actually saw that. And I'm like, oh yeah, God forbid that I actually try to be like Christ and live according to his... It's like, if Christ is doing that, does Christ answer the devil and demons when they start quoting scripture? And they're like, oh, look, Jesus won't even go to scripture. That's what these Protestants are. I'm like, absolutely not. Those are our scriptures. And I'm not going to go to them for you to dirty them. Number two, as I always said, it concedes the point. It gives you, my opponent, again, just like with the Malpass and these, whatever the other guy... Why would I concede to my opponents that they have some authority over me? When that's what's in question. I would have lost the debate if I immediately went to scripture and started going back and forth. And it's just fruitless anyway. Like, you've seen it happen. Like, that's not what it means. You're misinterpreting it. And then you just throw... Like, what do? Ye who stacks up more verses wins. I'm like, that's what's going to happen. This happens at every... I'm not getting into it. It's a fruitless... When the main problem is... And here's a point that I make now, and I should have made it in the debate. Why go to scripture when you're retarded and can't read? Like, how is that going to help? That's basically what's going on. But, like, there's some more fundamental issues we need to work on before we go to scripture. Because then you're going to misread something because you're retarded and you can't read. Because you have certain philosophical and religious erroneous presuppositions. And then they tell you what, well, you can't answer that, right? Why? They're hiding their crime. That's what was happening in this debate. We can't go to there. You got to go to scripture. Why? Because you're afraid I might actually find out that you're a philosophically religious epistemic reprobate. Like, that's actually the problem that's causing you all the other problems in your life. Well, don't look there. You can't go there. Says who? So that's what they think. If you don't do according to my arbitrary standards so that it hides my epistemic and spiritual sins, then you're obviously not a real Christian. You're just biblically illiterate and spiritually depraved, right? This is just a loss for Orthodox. What is this guy? Cope harder, Manny. Mr. Slick and all the Protestant heroes cannot justify their... Exactly. My question... If we're going to go back and disagree about interpretation, then I'm going to go to the question about the standard and justification for your interpretation. Like, why was I wrong to stick to that? Protestant dies at the hands of its own retarded circular... Yeah, exactly. What minute mark did he get clowned? No, or Matthew dumbfounded the circular reason, utter inability, objective truth of the Holy Writ. What are you talking about? Talk about just denying. The whole argument was about establishing an objective truth of the dogma of the Holy Writ. This is what I mean. It's like, how can you... They're so retarded and unable to... Pretty simple arguments, too. Oh, here's the witch. Yes. Why do they put... So if somebody... What a low... Dumb argument. Low tier. There is no jurisdiction as far as the church. You're not baptized into a jurisdiction. And if you write up Orthodox on a signpost and put the word true on it, doesn't mean that it's Orthodox. Like, how stupid are you? There are administrations, jurisdictions. You're inevitably going to go to a parish and be baptized in a parish that belongs to one of those. Yeah, retarded. Not, and here's not an argument. Why would I give an argument if you can't actually follow the original argument? And then you say, not an argument. Yeah, because you're retarded and obviously can't get arguments. That's why we make fun of you. That's why you should be publicly shamed. That's what Aristotle said. You appeal to the stick, i.e. force, ad baculum is in the Latin. When somebody refuses to... Now, this is kind of soft force, right? Shame, like, I'm not literally saying go and punch somebody out when they don't get an argument, when they don't understand your argument. But it explains why we're making fun of you, and you say it's not an argument. It's like, yeah, because you don't understand argument. Like, why would I keep just giving you arguments when you're retarded and can't? Just the same reason. Why would I go to scripture when you're retarded and can't read? We got to work on some more fundamental things like reading comprehension and your epistemic presuppositions. This guy's a real piece of work. Looks to me like Orthodox movement failed communist civilization. Protestants built... What a clown. Suppose that's true. It's not. Doesn't make it false. I love how it's like... America's Protestantism, so Orthodoxy has to be false. Like, what are you talking... Like... It fell to the Turks. Like, it must be... It's like... What does that have to do with the truth of Orthodoxy or not? God, this guy's making me mad. I can't even... Yeah, see what I mean? They can't follow... They're so dumb and retarded that they can't even follow, like, the simplest arguments. We had this come up in on Discord, some 24-year-old child trying to argue against tag and that he was so smart, and um he was denying that there is such a thing as first and second order distinctions. I'm like, well, and then I basically gave him a pretty simple argument. He's like, this is low IQ. It's like, yeah, I made it low IQ because you're retarded and you can't understand it. Doesn't mean the argument's false. If my argument's low IQ, I brought it down to you so you can understand it because you're low IQ. So that's a double L for you. Oh, here, by Ananias. My name's not Ananias. Like, I don't... Father. Father Ananias. You can call me that. And isn't it funny? They cry out as they strike. They accuse you of doing the, like, only to be interrupted by... Didn't everybody notice it's like... Wasn't I the one being interrupted, though? Oh, well, okay. He at least calls me... I will not refer to I won't ever respect. If you write me something like a chat or an email that says Ananias, I'll never respond to you. Any more than if you call me another name, because that's not my name. If you spelled your name like with just half the letters, would you respond to somebody? If your name was Brian and you're like, brr. Hey, brr. Brr. Would you respond to the person? I'd be like, oh, like, excuse me. Wow, I forgot to check in on the super chats. I mean, the $2. Welcome back. Oh, yeah, you already sent. I already sent that. Read that. You already sent it. I already read it. Holy writ. You know you're wrong based on... I actually don't know. That's a good one. By the way, I don't know how he could accuse me of circling. I don't even... I haven't listened to it for 6 years, but... I don't even know if I made a positive case for orthodoxy. I was doing apologetics, right? I was tearing down strongholds and every pretension that sets itself up against and making every thought obedient to Christ, as St. Paul says. I was just critiquing your system. That's part of what apologetics... Because I always love this with atheists. You didn't prove it. I won because I removed every criticism. I removed your criticism. I defended. So you want me to return back to the thing that I just demolished, as St. Paul says, by the arbitrary standard, but like, well, you have to prove it by this standard. I'm like, no, I don't. I just have to destroy your system that says I have to do that. Just like I did with the malpass and whoever the other person you quoted, "Bill, you have to do this." I don't have to. What do I always say? I don't have to do a dang thing. Especially after it just destroyed your whole system. It says I have to do a dang thing. Like I won. That's what apologia, the defense is. So they hate that. Like, no, what do you mean you won? Because I destroyed your system. That's all I was doing. So I couldn't be doing circular logic because it wasn't making a positive case for it. I was just showing how you don't have an answer. It's like Socrates, right? Socrates engaged in vicious circularity. How? He's asking you a question showing you're retarded and don't know what you're talking about. Like, he didn't actually... Kind of like an internal critique, right? Yeah, which is always good. Repeat back to me my position. Repeat back to me the argument. They're not going to be able to get it. Yeah, and perspicuity, a script. I have a new argument for that too. But perspicuity scripture. What does that mean? Scripture is clear on the essentials. Bible means what it says, and it says what it means, and it means what I say and not what you say. Do you see what the problem is? Oh, what's the essentials? What obviously the clean and clear reading that I agree with, and not you. Do you see? It just the whole thing begs the question. So what is it? That's actually what he's doing. What does he do? He accuses his opponent. These people accuse their opponent of the thing they're actually doing. Why? Because fallacies are not just non sequiturs and getting things wrong. It's semantic sorcery and word wizardry. It presents an illusion. Every fallacy has an illusory kind of feel to and phenomena to it. Being a good argument when it's bad. But if it's bad, you gotta spruce it up and do a bunch of sleight of hands and things to give the illusion, but like, and now you forgot. You're the one in the circle. Walk. These are not the circles you're looking for. It's on you. All of this is just sorcery. See how good how my argument is? And there's people that I guess 0.1% of society falls for this. Semantic sorcery and word wizardry. Alright. Back. Okay, why do you lie to yourself? Alright. Slick got destroyed in 5 minutes. Okay. He's this arrogant slob. Where does Jay... By the way, Jay was not part of the debate. I don't know why. And then there's people in here like the moderators were absolute joke. That's a loss on you. The moderators were Protestant. Number 2, the debate had ended. And I had to use the toilet. And so it was opened up for Q&A, right? Jay came on, and then that's when... So it was not a debate with Jay, because people were like, this is ridiculous how Jay... It's like, no, it's not. The debate was over. There was not... And Jay was calling him out. So to be clear, Jay Dyer has not had an official debate with a single product whose experience or also... What are you talking... This guy's a wacko. None of them on that level will accept. That's just a lie. That Jay hasn't, but yeah, that's... This guy's correct. The only reason why you could say it was a good debate, an absolute perfect picture of an impasse reached when one side's unwilling to justify their epistemology, i.e. Matt Slick, And the other side's unwilling to let them get away with it. Why am I the bad guy? Why would I concede the debate and be like, you know, I'm just going to let you get... I stuck to the point. Well, you won't go to Scripture. Again, why? Because you're retarded and can't read. I'm going to hold you to that. I concede the debate to you. And then they get all mad at me and be like, oh, Deacon Ananias lost the debate. Yeah. And this is the famous...
You are not in a church. You invented your own church.
Excuse me, you're just making an assumption that all the...
So this is when I was in the bathroom, debate was over, it was Q&A, and Jay called in. Okay? This was not part of the debate, because they'll criticize this as this is terrible to do in a debate. It's like, the debate's over. Anyways, we love this. We'll play.
You are not in a church. You are not in a church. You invented your own church.
Excuse me, you're just making an assumption that all the saints agree.
They do. They do. I can go read them. You have no saints. You're a goblin, a demon, a boomer tard. A demon, a boomer tard.
You're just making an assumption.
You're a goblin, a demon, a boomer tard.
Excuse me.
A demon, a boomer. You are not in a church. You invented.
All right, I don't know how big... I don't even know who this Manny R. Jones is, but I think that and somebody did a clip channel too. I think you're right. I think it went on... that's why all these people are... It just blows me away. I totally forgot about that. Did Alex Malpass do a recent criticism on my paper? I don't know. Never saw that. Maybe, I don't know. Is it worth it? I love that they spend all their time. The best guys spend all their time trying to defeat my papers. Suckers. That's what I... You mean the one that says an asinine critique? You really think I should respond to...
Know what's going on. Have I set this up enough? He's a Greek Orthodox philosophy bro, presuppositionalist. He's giving this paper here. This is often referred to by J. Dyer.
Probably not. Let's just listen to some of this. He's really kind of gone down. I used to think a lot more of, him as an academic. Does this sound academic to you? He's a philosopher, bro.
It certainly doesn't say anything that I could see on here about where it was published or anything like that. Doesn't have the journal name and, the
I haven't published in a journal. I presented several conferences.
Volume number, page references, got nothing like that, so I don't know. The second thing that's funny is it starts with a quote. The hardest problem is convincing people that the problem is not hard at all, but simple. Well, it doesn't say who the quote's from.
It's from me, faggot.
Is it supposed to... this just looks like this is the person who wrote the paper, this is where they work. I don't think that this is attributed to this person. It just happens to be a quote at the top.
This is hilarious. So you really think this is worth responding to? I created that. That's why I didn't cite it. I'm quoting myself. But it's not published in a...
The page, on the blog post, it just sits here, free floating. It's not attributed to anybody, is my point. And I Googled it, and I couldn't see it anywhere. I couldn't
I made it up, you idiot.
find this quote from anything. It's not like a quote from a famous philosopher or book or something like that. That analysis into the necessary conditions for boss of ortho-bro philosophy. I'm not quite sure that's right, but he's like someone that they look to as, in some sense, a philosophical authority. Anyway, okay. Hopefully,
All right, I probably not. That's about enough of that. I didn't cite myself. And again, I would have cited myself, but I haven't published it. Like, I literally just came up with. So, I don't know. Maybe I'll look up in Chicago Man and stuff. What do you do when you quote yourself, but the quote isn't from a publication that you previously published? The guy's a wanker, dude. Like, why do you... I used to have more respect for him. And it's just the same old with... but that's the best they got. So they're like, are you going to respond to him? It's like... Probably not after hearing... Bro, I reckon he's an actor, and one of these actor bros they look up to. He fancies himself an epistemic authority on you reckon? He Google trying to... I just love it that I'm like, you're spending all your time reading my papers trying to... I can't find the quote. I can't find the damn quote. Yeah, he's a muppet. That's the best they got. Yeah, maybe after hearing 20, like, if you went into, let's say, I don't know, let's say there were different people giving talks, and you just heard verbal diarrhea coming out of some speakers, right? He just starts off terrible. Would you be like, well, here's a place that I'd like to sit down and waste my time? To wear a priest kit. You mean this thing? I got my priest kit. Quick! Malpass came up with a video, 2-hour video against. Quick, get the priest kit. Let's get it. Bum-ba-da-da. Not unless I'm specifically on duty doing... I mean, always on duty, but specifically... I usually go comfort and... don't wear... Unless I'm, like, going to serve something or pray or specifically... with the intention to publicly... display the church or something like that. No, I don't. You mean you're not going to listen to 2 hours of this guy after a bunch of verbal diarrhea? But it gets better. Convince me. Like, why should I waste my time? Maybe, I don't know. Like, but that obviously wasn't a good start to... It's not a great argument to, like... Again, none of those are, like, not all. Some of my earlier papers are published in, but I just kind of, I got bored and disenchanted with academia and publishing, meeting their standards. Now, what I do, it gets better after 430, episode 435. It gets better, yeah, trust me, bro. I'm not in Southern California. Why does everybody keep thinking I'm in Southern California? What I do is I do go to academic conferences, right? So I put the papers up and stuff like that. I've had published some papers before in academic journals, but like, no, I don't really excited about I don't really care about. Oh, a long time ago in Fullerton. Yeah. I used to live in. We moved to Montana over about 6 years ago. But what I do is present these papers before, like I've done Dr. Rich, some of the best philosophical academics. And I send it to other philosophy professors and I get feedback. So I know that I would know if they're bad papers. I don't need to. Maybe I would. I don't know if like somebody paid me to maybe review that 2 hours of hell and answer. But yeah, I don't need Malpass to tell me if the argument, like I have people, and we've all heard Malpasses. I've heard that we've responded a million times to. I used to think he was the best guy, but like I think he's kind of going downhill. I think he's kind of losing it. So maybe, I don't know. I'd have to see if it's worth my while. That definitely didn't convince me that it's probably worth my time. But if you can do that, if you can convince me somehow. But I mean, it's just kind of a crappy way to critique. It's like, why didn't you just critique the paper? Like, why do you have to be like, he says we didn't even know if this is true. This is a real quote. Carol Cut, where's that? He's part of the Etherbrew. He's an Etherbrew. He's the one that looks. Dr. C.J. Watt. Is Malpa or is it Oppie? I'm getting the two confused. They never are. I don't know why you guys think like put so much like, oh my god, or we're gonna respond to. So there's a story for you. Father Russell told. Guy comes to Father Russell, says, prove you love your wife. He's like, no. Why? Confident. He knows he loves his wife. I know it's a good paper. I might. But like when you guys are like, are you going to respond? Like you're in fear. Like it's the same critiques, right? Like it's nothing. If I had one of my colleagues, philosophy professors, be like, there's a legitimate critique that's actually pretty difficult that I think you should respond to, but like internet zoomers are just like, I've never seen a generation that lives so much in fear. This is why, by the way, they don't drink alcohol. They're literally scared of, I'll become an alcoholic. From one sip. Well, how are we going to respond to this art? Like, it's terrified. Like, that's not your fault. It's not your fault. Stay with me. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. We did that to you. I'm sorry. Like, our generation did that. I'm sorry about that. We created safe spaces and told you you're going to die from everything, and as a representative of Gen X, I apologize. I sincerely apologize for creating that psychosis in you guys. But I don't feel like I have to respond. Like, I generally know what it's going to be. It's the same stuff. I have people, my mods are like, I listen to it. There's nothing substantial. But if I had a colleague and be like, this guy had a good critique, I think you... And there has been. I thought that there was somebody, only to find out that they're working in groups. By the way, following Malpass, there was a whole Discord group following that actually did come up with a fairly difficult... But they were using AI and they were working like nonstop. But I'm like, I found it worthy to... And I wrote a paper. Like, if you get to that level, if I'm convinced, if I have like somebody who's like, you know what, this is a difficult, like you should respond to it, I might. But that definitely did not look like... But yeah, somebody summarize it. I don't know. I don't know if I really want to watch through it. Maybe I would, just for entertainment, and do a stream on... Every person that criticizes tag is... Yeah, exactly. Misrepresenting... And again, my wife asked me something once, years back. She's like, you're ever afraid, like, your argument doesn't work? I'm like, no, because it's not my argument. I'm like, when you know, you know. Once you see it really is accidentalism or intentional in the world, I'm like, there's no other way to go. Like, okay, I might formulate something. I might make a mistake in the particulars or like how I present it. But I know that once you see that just starts to like, there are no other options. There's no other way to go. Like, I know this to be true. And so the only thing that could be critiqued is my presentation of... I'm like, okay, maybe I made a mistake and error. I forgot to cite myself. You got me. Call the police. Call the epistemic police. I'm busted. I quoted myself from something I actually made up. But I've looked that up in Chicago manual style. Like, I don't actually know. Because if I didn't put in quotes, I'd be like, where did this come from? Also, quotations can set something aside. So he's an idiot for not every time you put something in quotes, you should know this is a philosopher, right? The statement, snow is white, is true if and only if snow is white. So, who said that? Snow is Weist? Snow is Weist? Who said that? What? Oh, he's not German. I looked up snow is white and I couldn't find where the quote came from. I plagiarized myself. You got me. Dang it. That's hilarious. Some critiques were valid, or you mean like they were just good critiques? Like they can ultimately fail, or it's like the critiques worked. Because that's two different things. But like, there's a critique and it's actually valid in the sense that it refutes your position. Or is it like, oh, it's a good critique? Like, it'll be interesting to see how you respond. Which one do you... Oh, that's where the people are getting... That's a new thing. Confuses first order. No, it's not. Like, I've heard that one too. I don't know why this first order, second order is so hard for people to get. Look, let's use AI. This is what this guy in Discord was like. There's no such thing. There's no... How did I... Right, let's just pop this up. This is... See, this all this stuff is just lies or start like... You really want me to... respond to this? Again, just use... Look. First order knowledge typically means knowing a proposition. Okay? Like 2 plus 2 is 4. Or... that it's raining, or being in a state of affairs that you know the tree is green or something. Second order knowledge means knowing that one knows that proposition. Now it says link to KK, but I don't want to get into that. If S knows that P, then S knows that S knows. Did I not actually put that exactly? Well, how am I confusing it? So it gets into this KK thing because this guy was saying that I basically made this. He's saying the same thing as Oppie but worse, or Malpass but worse. So I didn't confuse first. That's exactly the definitions that I used. So he's either lying or purposely strawmanning my... So got him on that. So this guy thinks I made this up. So I just... This guy was using AI. The reason why I did this is because it was funny. This guy in the Discord, this 24-year-old child, was using AI to, like, argue. I'm like, well, you should have used... If you think that, like, I was saying a bunch of nonsense and confusing, like, Malpass first and second order knowledge, that there's no real distinction or something like that, maybe you should just use... So... I just qualified here. I'm like, I'm not talking about the KK principle, because KK principle is that if you know this, then you know that you know. And that's a controversy. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, is there such a conceptual distinction between first order and second order? Did Deacon and I just made that up? And I'm the only one that believes it. Yes, essentially all epistemologists accept, or at least recognize and operate with, a conceptual distinction between first order and second order knowledge, even if they disagree sharply on its nature, importance, implication, or relation to principles like KK. Know that you know. So, that's embarrassing for a philosophy professor to make the same mistake as his 24-year-old. How am I confusing it? Like, all epistemologists agree. Now, that's not argument from authority. Doesn't mean it's right. It means... Why? Because we're talking about concepts and definitions that are conventionally established. So that's when you do appeal to consensus. So, no, I'm not confusing. Now, you may disagree with certain implications about... They have to say that, though. Why? Because it's actually a good critique. If my first order, my belief in a proposition or state of affairs, which is exactly you saw as it is, I'm not making this up, Grandma, like, obviously Malpass is incorrect, then my statements that could operate is propositions about the previous statement, the first order, are second order knowledge, if they count as knowledge. So I can never confirm any proposition at the first order, state of affair, first order knowledge, without what? Making a second order that I know that. Like, so he has to just do what? He has to confuse you, be like, well, it's made up and he's confusing. I just showed you, like the standard textbook epistemology definitions of. So you're not doing a very good job of convincing me I need to respond to anything of substance, but I'm willing to be open to. I just stated exactly what I stated in. I'm saying the guy in the Discord said there's no distinction. Malpass says I'm confused on it, and I just showed you the standard text. Obviously, he's wrong. I use the standard textbook definition of. So I can't. Be incorrect about that because I'm using the standard textbook. Does that make sense? If somebody pays for me to go, but I'm not a speaker, I can't afford to. If somebody pays for me to go out to, I would. And why is it, if I made such a simple mistake on incorrectly stating the differences, why did, when I was presenting this to other philosophers and epistemologists at philosophy conferences and sending my paper, why weren't they like, you're confused about, why did it take him, don't you find that's odd? Obviously he's making stuff up. That's a grasping, yeah. Great point. They're grasping at star. So Christian, why are you so worried about? I mean, everybody else can see that, like, it's a scam. Like, why do you think this merits? I mean, we just spent a couple minutes of just showing, like, how off. Is it because he has a professor title? Like, I don't get it. Chase, you know why I didn't pick up the phone calls? Because I'm in. Sorry. I would like to go to the Ludwell conference, though. He is bad faith. I don't think Oppie's that way, so I think there's a difference. I'd be more willing to. What is the criticism that were substantive? That's what I don't understand. It's like, you gave me one, I'm showing you just straight up lying or just like totally confused about, like, this happens in Discord. State the. People were like, you should really watch this 4-hour video of this critique of, like, can you state the argument? What's the substantive criticism? So you said one that he's just absolutely wrong about. That's embarrassing for him. I'm like, he should know as a philosopher, like, that's exactly the definition and distinctions and usage of first and second. Yeah, you see, those are, we could do a whole stream on my skis. So those are my peacemakers. Love those. Those, this is my best ski right there. The Bonafides, Blizzards. That's my powder ski. Oh no, did I lose? Touch the camera and it goes out. I know, sorry. I didn't even get to use them. So what happened is there's a guy, he loaned them to me. Because they're like 118 under. No, they're big. Oh. Pretty dope skis. These Rossis. What were they underfoot? I'm trying to look. Whoa. So they're 186s, but what are they underfoot? They're pretty fat. They're a powder ski. And what happened is we got a powder day, and I took up my bona fides. Definitely don't want to. And the reason why is the Peacemakers. The Peacemakers is what I broke my ankle on the previous. And it popped out. The binding piece was missing, so I couldn't, in good conscience, put myself. But I love those Peacemakers. They're a little bit shorter, more flexible. They're wider underfoot. They're like 108s, I think. And I just rip on I love those things. But I need to get new bindings, so I got the markers there. But before that, I had the bona fides, and we got like a huge powder day. And those are long too. They're long, they're stiff, they're not meant for powder, and I was so upset. And I talked to he's the owner of First Chair. It's like a ski shop guy. He's one of the legend locals here on the mountain. And because I was skiing with him and all the really good old timer, and I was having a hard time keeping up with, because of my skin, I'm like, I can't do it. I'm like, I need some powder skis. And he's like, oh, I'll loan you some. So anyways, I didn't get him for that day, but then he loaned me, and we took those up to Whitefish, and I never ended up having to use them. But yeah, the bona fides are very fast. That's for pissed, groomed. Then I rip on, they're actually scarily stiff and fast. You can get going. So my go-to normally is just the Peacemakers. Good questions. I like answering. July and John. Yeah, we're literally is there only 4 months until we get, so November, technically we get snow and they could open up. So I'm looking forward to getting some powder days and checking that out. All right. If you can name a valid criticism, you already gave one that seemed to be substantive that was totally incorrect. You're not winning me over here. Like I said, I think you pointed out he's a bad faith. I think Oppie's much better. I'd be more willing to respond to somebody like him than... But unless you guys can formulate, I think this... Again, somebody was able to do that, and that's why I wrote one of my more recent papers when we had this... what were they? External foundationalists. They were actually kind of able to get around some of this stuff at first when I wrote a response. And they got this from Malpass too. So I responded to all of Malpass's best arguments that they're getting in epistemic theories and metatheoretic validation. Because he has naturalism with a mysterious turn, or like something like that. So I think I've already dealt with it. But unless you can, and I did, because they presented, I had a bunch of people write me stuff that I'm like, actually, that's a tricky argument. I'm going to respond to it. Yeah, see, Oppie seems, but Malpass is not looking good. Did Super Chats just end? Anyways, it was really interesting that this kid came in. Same thing, totally misrepresented. It was interesting is that he was contradicting himself because he was saying tag is just fideism, and he was arguing for natural Western kind of natural theology through kind of Aristotle stuff. And then when I critique that, and by the way, this is what they think that this first, second order, like, that the argument, I'm like, there's like 5 or 6 different ways that I show autonomous. My argument's not dependent on just another thing that I came up with that I was able to realize oh, that's what they're doing, that doesn't work. So even if, like, you were right about all my first, second order circularity thing is a bunch of nonsense and it doesn't work, you still don't get out of you still got 5 or 6 more, and ultimately if those don't work, you're still never going to get out of the ultimate. And this is what I said, you're missing the epistemic forest, right? The bigger issue, right? And that's where I get into the accidentalism for the epistemic trees. Who cares? Like, it's okay. What if I'm like, yeah, that's a stupid argument that I made up in my head in a fever dream, which actually did come up with the argument in a dream. Good luck to you. You're never going to win it because the argument isn't dependent on that. So this guy, by the way, this kid just starts laughing. I'm like, if you start laughing at me and making fun of me and stuff like that from the get-go, like, I'm probably going to think you're not a serious person. This is kind of what this kid. I'm just making this stuff up. Okay, I'm not saying Malpass it. He said I was confused about it. I refuted that. I showed you. I used the textbook definitions and distinctions between those. But this guy's saying it's just meaningless, the distinctions, and I'm just making this up. I'm like, no, a person can form a true... Here's the show really easy. A person can form a true belief in a justified way. Now notice this is not any commitment to necessarily internals or externals. Just kind of a general, like, everybody should agree with this. So John has relevant, let's say, sense experience of a green tree, has reliable sense faculties, not on drugs, the faculties working correctly. Let's say he has a sufficient number of justified beliefs about what it means to be green and tree and in the environment, etc. And notice I put in gen, like a sufficient amount, whatever you say, that would satisfy you, such that his belief, his true belief, counts as knowledge. Is it possible for him then to be in a state, be like, but I can't justify that. I don't know that I know that, or how it's possible, or be able to explain all of that. So you'd have to argue, that's logically impossible. Now, first of all, prima facie, that's pretty easy to understand that it's like, yeah, of course that could happen. Okay, then there's a real conceptual distinction between first order and second order. You know, he says that's low IQ. I'm like, well, that's a loss on you because it is low IQ. I actually explained it really low IQ so you could follow me. And it's like the perspicuity of scripture argument, right? This is what I do. I give it to him. Suppose you're right, then that's a double L for you because it's so straightforward according to your view, and I grant it. Suppose you grant it. You still get it wrong. That looks worse for you. So that's a kind of interesting rhetorical. No, you typically don't need a spiritual father. Most people, you need a confessor. A spiritual father is something different. You don't. It's a different type of more intense relationship. You don't need to. Your local priest can satisfy most of those. All right, so this young kid, 24-year-old, says this is just fideism. It isn't fideism. So they always think this, like, we're making arguments, right? But we're trying to find what the ultimate justification for arguments is at all, right? And it's obviously not going to be, and he should know better from Aristotle, there's not going to be an argument for an argument for an argument ad infinitum. So even Aristotle and foundationalists attempt to ground those things, not by further use of Dionia and arguments and inferences, but something that must be accepted. That he calls it self-evident or something like that. And we don't agree with the concept of self-evidence, but like there is a general understanding that that's not fideism, attempting to ground logical inferences and arguments and reason by the recognition and use of your reason is not controversial or fideism. So I find it odd that it's like, that's fideism. It's like, do you not see we're doing a lot of reasoning and philosophy in these papers? Not that we have to, but because there's people that go to school and make simple things really complicated. And then I gotta explain it and answer people like these Malpiteans. Then they do the exact same. What do I do? Well, you got to answer in my terms. I answer in their terms. What do? What, you think the faith is just a formula? I'm like, you just can't win with these people. It's about faith, right? So notice these are not serious people. And there was an interaction back and forth here. But this guy was such a stinker. I'd actually maybe just like to publicly bring him on and shame him. But he actually thought he was winning the debates in this Discord. That's what... Yeah, he says the distinction between first order and second order is artificial. Saying something exists and making claims about something that exists. By the way, clever way too, because I was basically asking, how do you know that we know, that have knowledge, that that's even possible? Well, because Aristotle, the Aristotelianism. Yeah, but how do you know Aristotelianism is true? Because if this is literally what he was saying, because it's true. That's how we know. I'm like, so you're making claim. I'm asking you a second order, and you're just saying, well, that's an imaginary distinction. Why is he doing that? He's trying to collapse them and be like, there's really no distinction. Why? Because we know, because of what Aristotle said, he's trying to collapse the second order into the first order. I know, just grant me all my presuppositions about Aristotle and what he says is right. But it's like I'm trying to figure out if that's actually the correct metaphysics or epistemology. And one way to try to get around that is just be like, well, those are just illegitimate questions, you see. Okay, well then, my system that says your system's wrong is, and I don't have to justify that. Why? Because it's a first order statement, like knowledge. No, you can't do that. What do I call that? The critique that I'm applying to you, uniquely applying to you, uniquely does not apply to me. Then he calls me a sophistic huckster. As an orthodox, like, you speak this way to clergy? What does he say? One may be physical. That the subject matter, right, about a tree might be the same, but what you're doing, right, and attempting to justify a statement about it, which entails a lot of other stuff, and how to substantiate that, versus being in the state at the first order, are obviously different things. I get, this is, by the way, the Malpitians, where I wrote the epistemic theories and metatheoric validation against them, we're attempting to do something similar. So I know they're getting this from him, and they're picking up from Discord groups and stuff like this, that I don't have to justify it. That's a, what were they saying? That implies internalism and stuff like that. And so I don't have to have an awareness principle. It's a clever way. The way that they framed it, this kid is insane. Like, he's not even knows what he's talking about. But like some of the critiques that I did get, I'm like, it actually is sophisticated. They formulate a way, but ultimately it's a scam and con to get you from questioning what they're saying. They're like, basically, I'm giving you an account, but the account isn't the justification. But if the account is true, independent of what I say about it, that's how we know. So in other words, it's collapsing the first and second order and basically saying, I don't have to justify my position, because if it's justified in and of itself, ipso, that's actually how you know. But it's like, but that's how I want to know. And it ultimately will boil down, but that's how you know. Like, do you see? It's like, well, then okay, then I can do the same thing. Do you see what the problem is? Transcendental argument is really actually, it's a form of deduction. It's still a deductive argument. But it's a deductive argument that's reflexive in some way. So there is a usage, right? A faculty use. I have to use it because there's no other way, but I'm trying to, through the use of it, temporarily kind of hold whether it's ultimately justified, the use of deduction, by using the deduction to find the necessary conditions for deductions. That's basically, and Kant kind of formalized these and got really good at doing this, and he does this through kind of reductios, right? And antinomies of reductio, like, this isn't possible, so this is how it would have to be possible. And then you find out later, so there's something logically and epistemically it's prior to arguments itself, but temporally and in terms of faculty usage is first. And then you later find, and this is, Aristotle knew this too, the distinction between what's better known by you, like, where do you start? I start with using words and logic, and versus what the ultimate cause and justification is, what he calls what's better known by nature. And he says, in order of time, you start with what's better known by you, and then you move to what's better known by nature. So it's not an unfamiliar concept in philosophy. All right. I think that's it. I gotta go. Unless you guys are gonna send us super chat. I've been talking too long. I got work to do. Chase, I gotta give you a call too. Chase, did you leave? All right, God bless you guys. I'm calling you. Call me, bro. God bless. Yeah, we'll do tomorrow too. Good to be back. Good to be back. It's good to have you guys here. God bless you. Think about some other questions too. Save up your money so you can throw in those super chats. Go support Jim Bob. He's doing let's do a Jim Bob raid on his iconography. Love the new direction he's going. And till next time, God bless.